Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Myself, Heidi, Matthew, and Caleb will be presenting our design for Columbia Park, which we have named Third Space Park. Columbia Park is on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and we have worked to acknowledge this through the planting in our park. We began this project with multiple immersive site visits, looking at all aspects of the site and its surroundings. An initial observation we had was that the majority of the park is dedicated to organized sports fields, which remain largely underutilized. We also noticed that the sidewalks around the park were the most trafficked, with people commuting through or looking to exercise near the park, but few places for the community to linger, rest, or picnic aside from a few benches. Another observation we found notable was the lack of opportunity for informal play within the park. Non-sports related play was really centralized to one playground in the northeast corner with built aging playground equipment that was only suitable for the able-bodied and catered solely to kids. We also noticed a few moments that provide further opportunities for enhancement, such as the great open sky, which provided mountain views, as well as the grove of mature trees on the west side of the site where people stopped to exercise or decided to break off the path to meander through. After our initial site visit, we began diving into the research, looking at demographics, surrounding context, and the projected future of Canby Corridor. A big takeaway from this was the distribution of the population, with a large number of households with kids, as well as a growing senior population, as these groups require different spatial considerations. Another notable takeaway was that less than half of Oak Ridge residents felt a sense of belonging to community, which we aim to address with our park design. Beyond statistics, we are interested in the lived experience of each neighbor, wrapped up in rapid changes to the neighborhood.
While the beginning of the demographic research, we also started looking into the neighborhood amenities, and we focused on the gathering places to understand how existing neighborhood navigates diversity and strengthens community. So we noticed that the majority of gathering spaces in the immediate vicinity of Columbia Park are created for groups with unified cultural backgrounds, religious affiliations, or age. Surrounding the park are often separated in, or the surrounding parks, are often separated into designated spaces for specific activities, such as sporting fields and traditional playgrounds, which may be left unused when those activities are not taking place, as well as many areas that are not accessible for everyone. The rapid and significant urban change brings new opportunities and constraints. The densification of various scales will draw in around 50,000 more residents with diverse backgrounds. The combination of luxury condos, social housing, and everything in between will surround Columbia Park with the diversity of income and varying access to outdoor space. And with this, the densification, there will also be significant decrease in private green space, and a loss of existing ecological stormwater management asset that will need mitigating, which the Alberta Street Blue-Green Corridor begins this effort. So this begs the question, how can Columbia Park provide the space for diverse peoples to gather in a rapidly growing neighborhood while addressing the practicalities of a changing landscape? As we explored our guiding question, we settled on the word gather and its very definitions. Our design intent is to facilitate community connectivity through gathering-focused, integrated, and inclusive space making. In community building, a third place is referred to a place of gathering outside of the first place home and second place work. So we chose the name Third Space to reflect the intent, a space in which this third place making can occur, gathering over time.
So our initial ideation started with us individually generating ideas and then coming together and exploring a possible plan. During this process, we explored large topographical moves, different planting experiences, as well as specific small moments that could be included. When trying to bring these ideas together, we quickly found out that it was rather difficult to combine our ideas into a cohesive plan. And after some tough but very necessary feedback, we decided to take a step back and reapproach our design from a different perspective. It was in taking that step back that we decided to revisit our concept with fresh eyes and really examine our goal of space making to facilitate gathering. This allowed us to explore what the act of gathering at multiple scales specifically looked like. Exploring these different activities, which gathering takes place, helped us immensely move forward in generating ideas of possible spaces and defining a hierarchy of zones that could facilitate these different forms of gathering. After our analysis of gathering, we flipped the script. We came together looking at the site anew and started physically designing our spaces. We began this exercise with specifying the physical sizes at which different scales of gathering take place, exploring possible layouts, circulation routes, and iterating space making through topography and planting. Working as a team on our site model truly helped us visualize and communicate ideas with one another as we explored the dimensionality of the site with greater purpose. After our time spent model making, we decided on a plan, sketching it and layered trace over it, developing a formal language that would create cohesion through the park, connecting and relating the spaces to one another.
This brought us to our current site plan, which is our solution for creating spaces with multiple scales of gathering. It features a central axis running through the park, connecting the new development to the west to the existing single-family homes to the east. We have central zones that facilitate larger formal gatherings while smaller informal gatherings take place throughout the park. We made every space flexible and usable across these scales. To develop unique experiential qualities across the site, we imagine the park as a series of interconnected and interrelated spaces, the names of which you can see on this plan. Every space is defined by a topographical move, a means of access, and planting. This first full site section shows how the plaza is nestled in the topography of the whimsical woodland. The second full site section shows how the largest gathering spaces are defined by raised topography on the north and south, creating opportunity for overlook as well as acting as a sound barrier. Now, to inspire our planting palette, we searched for plants with a number of key characteristics. Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people have gathered on this land for millennia, and it's important that this be represented in our planting list. Plants such as salmonberry, evergreen huckleberry, cattail, and nuka lupin reflect the history of food gathering in the region. Other plants represent cultural communities of those who have immigrated and settled in this neighborhood. Ginkgo biloba, while also an ideal tree for resilience in urban environments, is significant in Japan as a symbol of this resilience and longevity. In China, the ginkgo is associated with optimism for the future, a fitting symbol for a changing neighborhood. A community garden allows a diverse community to take planting into their own hands, an opportunity to learn about what is significant to others through growing food together. Our planting palette helped us provide each area of our park with year-round sensory interest to make each gathering space usable across seasons, while also considering the ecological impact of our planting design. For example, whether each space provides sufficiently for pollinators. We took all this information and applied it to a planting plan, which establishes the character of each unique area in the park. Fen Falls is filled with indigenous wetland and marginal plants and functions as a biofiltration system for rainwater runoff coming down Alberta Street. An overstory of river birch carries across the linear wetland and entry path onto the hillslide, a playful meadow around a magnificent liriodendron. Nyssa sinensis frames the edge between the lawn and the perch, all planted with alternative pollinator-friendly seed mixes. Whimsical Woods to the east is filled with peculiar evergreens. The patio with fragrant and edible herbs, and the orchard to the south surrounds the community garden with fruit and nut-bearing trees. Stonestack Field is graced with stonecrop, mugo pine, and witch hazel, while Picnic Park is filled with an array of deciduous specimen trees. Finally, the shadier Alberta Street is lined with ferns, huckleberry, and katsura, and an alley of Robinia pseudoacacia freesia passes through our central axis and out along 43rd Avenue. As we move into the next slides, each of these areas will be explored in further detail.
We'll begin by walking you through the park through the 43rd Avenue entrance. When entering into our central tree alley, you'll be surrounded by the rows of Robinia pseudoacacia freesia. We have extended a welcoming arm into the city by continuing the alley and pedestrian experience out through the mixed use and densifying section of 43rd, connecting low and high density, old and new, east and west, drawing people into the park.
Our proposal for Alberta Street incorporates plantings of thimbleberry, evergreen huckleberry, and ferns as an intentional extension of the park. The street would be blocked off to through traffic, creating a pedestrian-focused corridor.
Alternatively, when entering or exiting from the northwest corner, one walks alongside a tiered wetland, which offers a glimpse into the initial stages of water filtration for the water from the Alberta Street blue-green corridor. This area acts as an important habitat for wildlife. On the smaller pathway and boardwalk above, one is immersed in cattails, red osier, dogwood, river birch, and the sound of bubbling water.
Runoff from Alberta Street first enters the site at the top of the linear wetland. As it travels, it is cleansed via phytoremediating aquatic plants. Reaching the end of the wetland, the water is funneled into a cistern holding water in the dry summer months. This water is pumped into a secondary UV treatment system where it can be safely released into the pool. Overflow from the pool is pumped back into the beginning of the wetland, creating a cyclical cleansing system. The water from the cistern can also be used for irrigation in the community garden, and during the rainy seasons, excess water is released into the Stone Stack field, where it can infiltrate into the ground or return to the Alberta Street Green Blue Way system.
The play pool, located within the center of the park at the end of the wetland, offers unique experiences year-round. The perspective on the left shows the winter experience of the play pool, with a gentle slope of the pool, creating puddling and an opportunity for play with the boulders immersed within. On the right, a summer day, playing, cooling off, and lounging in the shade of a Gary Oak, with the community parkade beside to offer coverage and amenities.
Adjacent to the pool is the Stone Stack field, which one may also enter through the southwest corner of the site. The channel of stones creates both a space for playing, stacking rocks, as well as a practical method of slowly releasing excess water from the site. The language of the stones extends into the play pool, creating small islands in the water.
To the west of the pool, tucked under the shade of a variety of specimen trees, is the picnic park. Trees themselves form unique spaces beneath their branches that will change and grow along with the neighborhood. To the already mature existing grove of red oak and maple are katsura, ginkgo, silver linden, Persian ironwood, and sweet gum, giving the opportunity to connect to a favorite picnic spot. Hey, Ashley, I'll meet you under the katsura.
At the southeast corner of the park, carved into the hill of the orchard, is the community garden. This space brings people in the area together through the act of growing and sharing food. The plots vary from in-ground gardens to raised accessible beds, following the topography from which they're cut. This allows the opportunity for people of all abilities to connect and share food and knowledge of gardening.
The whimsical woods creates an inviting space for rest and play among evergreen trees and lush undergrowth. Natural play structures and mounted topography allow for self-directed play, while a sculptural swinging tree juxtaposed within a nook of rhododendrons offers a unique and accessible play experience.
On the edge of the woods, you will find a raised boardwalk offering a glimpse over the plaza and webs of netting to play or rest upon.
Lastly, nestled into the center of the park, the plaza creates a space for large gatherings, community events, and celebration. The plants of the whimsical woods create a stunning backdrop for the covered stage space, which can be viewed from the plaza itself or the sloping clover hillside of the hillside perch. During the day, the space fills with community, enjoying the openness of the space, welcoming an array of activities.
At night, the plaza comes to life as people continue to delight in celebrations, music, and markets. Framed by the retaining wall and roof structure, the enhanced acoustics create an ideal space for larger community gatherings taking place at all times of day.